A pleasant day, everyone. Dear participants, fellow presenters of the Second International Multidisciplinary Conference on Education, Management and Technology 2021. I am Dr. Ronel B. Amorin, Faculty of the College of Education, West Visayas State University, Calinog Campus, Philippines. My study entitled Predictors of Organizational Effectiveness, Inputs to a Leadership and Interpersonal Enhancement Program. The following are the contents of my presentation: the introduction, literature review, research paradigm, objectives, research design and methodology, discussions and conclusions, and lastly, the recommendations. Today's leaders in academic organizations need to know new knowledge, abilities, and skills to effectively cope with the constant organizational changes and understand the complexities of the rapidly changing global environment. According to Leithwood, Anderson, and Wallstone 2004, leadership is one of the important steps for providing the educational reforms and organizational development. The success or failure of an organization and other social units has been largely credited to the nature of the leadership styles. Lovett and Joan 2008 asserted that in today's global and competitive environment, leaders and employees with strong interpersonal values, skills, as well as relationships have advantages that can be helpful for the organization to achieve performance goals. Academic leaders are considered to be the most valuable assets in educational organizations. This is the main reason why they should be psychologically empowered in order to improve productivity, increase client satisfaction, and enhance competitive advantage. Organizational culture constitutes people and where human interaction is the custom. According to Sorensen 2002, organizational culture is a wide agreement on norms, practices, and procedures among organizational members which enhances goal alignment and establishes clarity about goals and practices. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs 2010 in Grabato 2016 identified 6 leadership preferences that academic heads should possess. These are pioneering or visionary, strategic, management or administrative, team facilitation, relational or social, and encouraging or coaching. Interpersonal values are convictions about a certain behavior model the individual has at a given time and which is personally or in the view of society is preferable to another mode of behavior. Interpersonal values have awakened the attention of research in the social sciences, where they are analyzed for the function they fulfill in decision making, avoiding aggressive behavior, and finding out what values make a subject socially competent. According to Spitzer, 1995, in Zhu, Sosik, Rihio, and Yang, 2012, psychological empowerment as a motivational concept exists when employees perceive that they exercise some control over their work. According to him, psychological empowerment is not a fixed personality attribute. It consists of 4 cognitions that are shaped by the work environment. These are meaning, competence, self-determination, and impact. Organizational culture, according to Denison 2000, applies to the core ideals, ideologies, and concepts that function as the basis for an organization's management structure, as well as the collection of management strategies and actions that both exemplify and affirm such fundamental principles. According to him, there are 4 fundamental cultural characteristics. It includes employee engagement, corporate continuity, adaptability, and mission. Organizational effectiveness can be defined as meeting organizational objectives and prevailing societal expectations in the near future, adopting and developing in the intermediate future, and surviving in the distant future. Weisbord 1976 in Manili 2016 proposes 6 broad categories in its model of organizational life. These are purposes, structures, relationships, leadership, rewards, and helpful mechanisms. The independent variables of the study were the academic dean's educational leadership preference, interpersonal values, psychological empowerment, and organizational culture, while organizational effectiveness was the independent variable. This study was conducted to determine the predictors of organizational effectiveness in state universities and colleges or SUCs in Panay Island, Philippines as inputs to a leadership and interpersonal enhancement program. The following are the specific questions. 1. What are the dominant educational leadership preferences manifested among the academic deans in SUCs in Panay Island? 2. What is the level of interpersonal values, psychological empowerment, and extent of practice of organizational culture among the academic deans in SUCs in Panay Island? 3. What is the level of organizational effectiveness among the academic deans in SUCs in Panay Island as an entire group and when classified according to the levels of aforementioned independent variables? 4. Are there significant differences in the level of organizational effectiveness among the academic deans in SUCs in Panay Island when classified according to their levels of aforementioned independent variables? 5. Are there significant relationships among the academic dean's educational leadership preference, interpersonal values, psychological empowerment, organizational culture, and organizational effectiveness in SUCs in Panay Island? 6. Which among the independent variables significantly predicts organizational effectiveness in its uses in Panay Island? Lastly, what leadership and interpersonal enhancement program may be devised for the academic deans as an offshoot of this investigation? This study utilized descriptive correlational research design. The respondents of the study were the 125 purposely selected academic deans who were currently managing graduate and undergraduate programs in 7 state universities and colleges in Panay Island, including their respective satellite campuses. Before we proceed further, I will show you the map of Panay Island in the Philippines where I have conducted my study. Panay is the sixth largest and fourth most populous island in the Philippines. It is a triangular island located in the western part of the Visayas. It is divided into 4 provinces, namely Aklan, Antique, Capiz, and Iloilo. The respondent's profile in Table 1. The slide shows the graphical representation of the demographic profile of the 125 academic deans in state universities and colleges when classified according to school affiliation, campus, highest educational attainment, gender, academic rank, teaching experience, experience as academic dean, size of the faculty managed, and school or college enrollment. The 5 published, standardized, and validated questionnaires accompanied by an information sheet were utilized to gather data needed for the study. The data gathered from the investigation were subjected to the following statistical tools for analysis. For descriptive statistics, the frequency counts, percentages, ranks, mean, and standard deviations were used, while Mann-Whitney test, Spearman's rule, and multiple regression analysis were employed for inferential analysis. All statistical analyses were set at 0.05 alpha level of significance. Table 2 shows that the academic deans in SUCs in Panay Island are good at encouraging or coaching, team facilitation, and pioneering or visionary as a leader. These simply indicate that as a transformational leader, they are good at persuading and motivating others. However, academic deans are expected to enhance their ability of being relational or social, management or administrative, and strategic as leaders. There is a need for them to further show that they care about the health and well-being of other people or their constituents. Table 3A shows that the level of interpersonal values of academic deans in ECUCs in Panay Island was excellent as an entire group, with mean of 4.26 and standard deviation of 0.40. And specifically in terms of expressing content, expressing or understanding others' content, understanding and responding to others' feelings and general values were also excellent. However, Their level of interpersonal values in terms of expressing feelings was very good, with mean of 3.89 and standard deviation of 0.64. This means that the academic deans are supportive, helpful, responsive, adaptive, and possessing a positive attitude towards feedbacks and criticisms. Table 3B shows that the academic deans in its uses in Panay Island have high level of psychological empowerment with mean of 5.78 and standard deviation of 0.44. It thus appears that the academic deans are competent and possess high level of self-efficacy, integrity, accountability, morality, and ethical standards. Table 3C shows that the extent of practice of organizational culture among the academic teams in its uses in Panay Island was very high, as an entire group with mean of 4.32 and standard deviation of 0.46, and specifically in terms of involvement, consistency, adaptability, and mission. These results imply that the respondents show a very high degree of involvement in work and activities in the organization that require their support and help. Table 4 shows that the organizational effectiveness of SUCs in Panay Island was above average, with mean of 5.30 and standard deviations of 1.65. As assessed by the academic deans. It may be attributed to the fact that the respondents also possessed satisfactory levels of educational leadership preference, interpersonal values, psychological empowerment, and extent of practice of organizational culture. Table 5 shows significant differences in the assessment of organizational effectiveness by the academic deans when rated in terms of their levels of educational leadership preference, interpersonal values, and extent of practice of organizational culture. The p-values were less than 0.05, thus, the null hypothesis was rejected. On the other hand, the results revealed no significant difference in the organizational effectiveness as assessed by the academic deans when classified according to their level of psychological empowerment. Thus, in this regard, the null hypothesis was not rejected at 0.05 alpha level of significance. Table 6 shows that positive significant correlations existed among educational leadership preference, interpersonal values, psychological empowerment, organizational culture, and organizational effectiveness based on the results of R and P values of the variables. With these evidences, the null hypothesis was therefore rejected at 0.05 alpha level of significance. Table 7 revealed that of the four proposed predictors, only educational leadership preference and organizational culture significantly predicted organizational effectiveness with p-values less than 0.05. However, the p-values associated with the interpersonal values and psychological empowerment are greater than 0.05, indicating that these variables are not predictors of organizational effectiveness. Based on these results, organizational effectiveness may be attained if educational leadership preference and organizational culture are promoted. On the basis of aforementioned findings and conclusions, the following recommendations are advanced. 1. The academic deans in state universities and colleges in Panay Island were good at encouraging or coaching, team facilitation, and pioneering or visionary. However, they were expected to enhance their ability being relational or social, management or administrative, and strategic. These results were the basis in the inclusion of the educational leadership preferences in the proposed enhancement program. 2. The academic heads in SUCs in Panay Island should sustain and maintain the level of interpersonal values, psychological empowerment, and extent of practice of organizational culture because such attitudes and possessions characterize a productive organization in accordance with the goals and objectives of the agencies such as the Commission on Higher Education or CHED and the Philippine Association of State Universities and Colleges or PASU. These are vital traits of the academic heads in adherence to their leadership responsibilities to act morally in congruence to ethical standards, accountability, and integrity. 3. To further enhance the organizational effectiveness among academic heads and the organization as a whole, a comprehensive leadership and interpersonal enhancement program is designed to serve as an intervention on upgrading as well as enhancing their leadership skills and competence in accordance with the moral and ethical standards for a public official. 4. Replication of these studies is recommended involving private higher education institutions in the country to serve as an activity for benchmarking, especially in the inclusion of activities that help in the strengthening and widening of the dimension of the same. The program should be designed for a medium-term longevity in order to provide the core group with ample time in implementation. Again, I am Dr. Ronel B. Amorin, a research author from the Philippines. Thank you very much.